Hi, I'm Dr. Divina Lopez, a board-certified pediatrician with over 10 years of experience in pediatrics, and you are listening to Dancing into Parenthood. Hello, welcome back to Dancing into Parenthood with Dr. Divina Lopez. Today, we are going to be talking about sex. Let's talk about sex with Miss Gidget Smith. And the reason why I thought this was such an important topic is because we're both married. We all know how much it changes. And I think, a lot of new parents have no clue what's about to come. Already during the pregnancy, the sex starts to change. And then sometimes what ends up happening after that is the lack of sex or the lack of interest in sex or not even knowing where to pick up after the baby arrives, like how to get it started all over again, where you actually like making time for this. So, and that can lead to a big breakdown in relationships. So I wanted to bring Gidget. She is the owner and clinical director of ETSA Solutions LLC. She is a marriage and family therapist with over 15 years experience in the mental health field. She provides comprehensive mental health counseling services to adults, children, couples, and families. And she believes in the power of resilience and human connection when overcoming adversity. So welcome, Gidget. Welcome to Dancing into Parenthood.
Hi. Hello, mothers and dads.
So Gidget and I actually know each other from work. And when I met her, I immediately connected with her because she has a really cool personality. She's super easy to speak to. She really has a great way of connecting with people. And I think she really cares about people. And that's such an important aspect, when especially in the field that you're in. I think that's something that you have to incorporate into, when you're caring for people in the way that you do. So
Absolutely. That's
yeah,
essential. That's one
it
of the
is.
essential tools. You have to feel comfortable speaking with your therapist about intimate parts of your life. And so when people are speaking, any of my clients that come to me, they're talking about their personal lives, that's a form of intimacy. So when you're speaking about any part of your life, especially when you're talking about sex, as we're going to talk about today, it's an intimate part that you don't necessarily share with your family, friends, or sometimes even your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you have someone that can give you guidance and give you wisdom on how to go about certain things or not.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just need that outside person that can give you a perspective that you may not necessarily thought about in the first place.
Right, yeah. So I think, yes, one of the most important things is to be comfortable and to have that connection so that you can share. That's probably one of the reasons that sex becomes a little like difficult after the baby, since there's a new person in the picture, a whole nother personality. You're tired. I mean, exhausted, not even tired. Tired is not even the right word. You're
Right.
you're just like, when is this gonna happen? I don't even feel like it. I don't feel sexy. I just don't even know how to get back into the groove of feeling like a woman, because right now I feel like a just a mom, and I lost myself
Yes.
somewhere along the way. And so it becomes really almost like it feels like a task, like you should be doing it, but you don't know how to sometimes even engage in it anymore because you've kind of been out of it for a little while.
Right. And then there's the reality also too is that people don't talk about sex. When you talk about pregnancy, everyone is focused on the mother. They're focused on the baby itself
Mm-hmm.
coming, but no one really talks about sex during pregnancy. It's healthy. It
Right.
actually helps, the mothers to have a better birth.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my clients that if you are comfortable in having sex, to do that, and makes the process of laboring much easier. And not also that, but after the baby comes out, it also makes you easier to go into that. But the reality is that there's no timetable in a sense of when a woman is ready for sex after having a baby. So most
Mm-hmm.
times you'll have the doctor tells all, most of the time they're supposed to let all the ladies know 4 to 6 weeks, and after that, you're free to have sex.
Right.
So the issue that comes about, and this, keeping in mind that everyone is different, and so there may be some exceptions to the rule,
Mm-hmm.
but so for some dads or husbands, or spouses or partners, however you want to label them, they're
Mm-hmm.
ready.
Yeah.
After 6 weeks, they're with the doctor. They're
They're ready
ready
right
they're ready
after.
to get down.
Like, come on.
And they're like, okay, honey, the doctor cleared you, let's go. But the issue, is that communication.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they're ready, the wife or the spouse or partner is not.
Right.
What men sometimes don't understand is that I call I say, vaginal trauma,
Yeah.
that's what I name it, because,
Yeah.
here you're having this big head come out of your vagina,
Uh,
and it stretches you. Some
yeah.
women tear, they get
Right.
sewn up.
Right.
You have the vaginal birth portion of the trauma to the vagina. It's like warfare, right? And
Right. Or an
so after the
episiotomy.
battle,
Forget it.
you know, right, after laboring with contractions, and then you have mothers who don't deliver vaginally, that they went through the labor, they went through the trauma of trying and then having to do C-section.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They're
which
recovering
is
from a
another
surgery.
form. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's more in depth. They're cutting layers,
Mm-hmm.
and so at times, people, parents, couples, they don't speak about sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then most of the time you have, when I speak with my couples, you know and I ask, well, what made you start again? And it's because they feel pressure to please their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, it's important that, men also and women also realize that. And for those who may be pregnant and, is anticipating having sex, you may not have it right away. It
Mm-hmm.
may take time, because some women lose the feeling of sexuality after giving birth. And most of the
Right.
times it can be because the having sex itself becomes more painful.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that vaginally, pushing out a baby, you're torn, as I stated, you surgically being sewn up or sutured, if you will. And people don't understand that there's trauma that goes to the vagina. So a lot of women, they also lose their natural lubrication.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so after having a baby, they become dry down there.
Right. Or
Their
even if
vagina
you're
becomes
breastfeeding
dry.
for a long time.
Right. And that's what I was
Mm-hmm.
going to say next.
Yeah.
If you're breastfeeding, most women experience dryness. But see,
Right.
this is not the conversations that women, when they go to the GYN for their checkup, that they have with their GYN. And
Yeah, I know.
so, and women don't speak to other women about it,
Right.
because they don't want people to know, what's going on.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
really private and it's embarrassing and
yeah, it
mhm.
definitely is. And also, when you're having a child, your estrogen levels are lower. So your vagina, is there, but your estrogen is low, and the tissues that is in corpus with that, it's either, bruised or, very tender,
Mhm.
and then sleep deprivation for those colicky babies,
Yes.
know,
Yes.
also, adjusting with that is not easy for either mother or father.
Mhm.
So it's important that, women communicate that with their spouse or partner. I find that when they don't communicate and they just have sex, they end up hurting themselves more.
Right.
So, and it's important that you communicate, you find out what form of ways you can be intimate without necessarily penetration, if you will.
Okay.
So, you can sometimes I'll ask, husbands, have you spoken to her to find out, how she's feeling, where she's feeling pain, that when she
Mhm.
pees. And then
Mhm.
sometimes too, a lot of women don't speak about this, but after giving birth, depending if you're giving, like I had a 8-pounder, some women give birth to 9-pounders or higher. I don't know
Right.
how they do it, but they do it. Okay.
Right.
So they give birth through the vaginal, and you know, let's talk about it. After you give birth to these big heads, we
Right.
love them, but
Right.
I gave birth to 8-pound, 4.9 ounce for my first birth.
Right.
And then, so you give birth to these babies, and a lot of women don't talk about it, but for some of them, when they have sex, they may pee.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
They,
You don't have the
because
control. You don't have the
they don't
control
have the
of the
control
muscles.
of the
Right. Yeah.
muscles. So,
Yeah.
but they don't tell you that when you're going for checkups.
Yeah.
You
Nobody
open up
tells
your
you any of
legs.
that stuff.
Nobody talks about that, and so it's
Or how
important.
about like a lot of people don't even talk about like the constipation and everything that happens and how yeah, your whole body is just like all wacky and you're trying to figure out what the heck, how do I get back to my normal self because I feel so crappy, like
Hmm.
how can I feel better so that or how can I even feel the way I felt pre-pregnancy? I want to get back
Right.
to that, but I don't even know how that happens or how long does that really take, and I'm sure that this is all normal, but what is the transition so that I can feel like myself again? Because I'm still in the healing phase. So,
Hmm.
how do I get back to just feeling like a woman? Number
Right.
one, I think you need that. I think a lot of times also you're like in addition to like having good communication, you need to feel supported by your partner in order to even want
Exactly.
to give
That was
back to them because you're like, first of all, I just went through all this trauma. I have a baby. I'm exhausted. What are you doing to
hmm
help me besides thinking you're going to get some?
Exactly. And that's something that I speak to spouses about.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is important. So, you have to be able to tell your spouse, you're not ready. That the 6 weeks is up, but you can't also deprive them either. So,
Right.
a lot of people, but you can do other things without penetration. You can have oral sex,
Right.
you can cuddle, you can, you know, and well, a lot of times men don't realize, the areas that would be erroneous, like your breast. Now you're
Mm-hmm.
giving this baby your boob.
Right.
So,
You don't even
now it
want them on
becomes
your
like
breast.
you don't want nobody on your breast. You're like,
Right.
wait a minute. You're
That's
like
for the
this.
baby. That's not for you.
How many people am I feeding here? You and them? No. So,
Right.
and then your nipples is either cracked
Or
or very
sore.
tender or
Yeah.
sore, so really finding ways. And I find that couples that don't discuss intimacy, that means that they never talked about it prior to the baby.
Mm. Right, right, right,
Okay.
right.
So, for a man, you have to be clear.
Mhm.
A lot of ladies are not clear because they are in fear of or being self-conscious of how they look. You're stretched out. You have stretch marks that's on you for life. And
Right.
they're
Yeah.
not being clear. Honey, I don't. But most important is that for the husband or partner, they must show support to their lady. He has
Mhm.
literally went through battlefield inwardly on her body. And
Right.
so where, it's different because, like I explained to a man, how just imagine someone taking a cucumber and putting it through the hole of you that you pee in, and
Right.
then someone yanks it out.
Right, right, right.
So, if you can imagine how that feel, your penis would not be the same. And then
Right.
there's some ladies, they don't even, when they look down there, it doesn't look the way it was
Doesn't look the
before.
same. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so they're going through that as well. And so it's about learning your partner in a way where you can arouse them, but not automatically think that, okay, because the doctor stated um 6 weeks is up, now you can get busy. But
Mm-hmm.
the woman is like, I'm here trying to trying to get some sleep, and
Right.
sometimes the men feel it too.
Right. Right.
So, and
Yeah.
then sometimes what happens in some of my clients, they've experienced where the men experience where the woman is super tight,
Mm-hmm. And they can't
okay,
even
and they can't
penetrate.
even
Yeah.
fit. They can't even
Yeah.
fit in there.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I tell couples in that instance, you can do oral sex, and then if they're really dry, you should get Astroglide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they KY jelly,
Right. A good
um
lubricant. Mm-hmm.
yeah, good water based lubricant. Okay,
Okay.
you don't want to go to the Romantic Depot and pick you up some cherry sticky stuff. Okay, you don't want to do that, because that's not going to help
You
you
want
and the
some
man.
medical grade lubricant.
Listen, you want some medical
You
natural
don't want that stuff you
lubrication.
used when you were a
Yeah.
teenager.
Yeah, you'll have people. You're laughing, but listen, I have couples that's like, listen, Miss G, I'm going to Romantic Depot to get something that's strawberry liquid. No, you
Right.
can't do that. You
Right.
have to be gentle.
Keep it basic.
Right.
It's a
And
sensitive
then
area.
also too, if you have a concern, husbands, if you're entering your wife and she's not tight and it doesn't feel the same, trust me, she may feel the same way too. It'll feel like you're just going into water inside of her.
Right.
She may
Right.
feel like her vagina walls dropped, and where's the penis? So,
Right.
it goes both ways. So you have to be able to communicate that. So I tell people, if you want tightness, you're to do kilo, exercise where you're
Strengthening your pelvic
squeezing,
floor and
you
everything.
strengthen your
Yeah.
pelvic floor.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, Amazon has this Kila exercise weight for tightness.
Yes,
It's
those
about 60.
eggs and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
have those,
Uh-huh.
so there's ways to do it. And then, then
Like,
it's important that you communicate. um Most importantly, that's so important, especially with your doctor. Sometimes some women, they are so dry that you can spell your name, so it's important that you find what's best for you. um what else?
I think, like it's good that we're talking about all of this like physical stuff that actually happens, because I agree, nobody really talks about this. I didn't even know about that as a doctor. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, am I gonna stay like this forever? Or because I never had any issues prior to having a baby. So
Hmm.
I was like scared because I didn't really realize that this was happening and how long was it gonna happen for. And I breastfed for a long time. So the first
Mm.
few months were a little difficult. But for me, as exhausted as I was, like I didn't lose my sex drive. I was just really exhausted. So the sex drive
Mhm.
was still there. Like I wanted it, but I just felt so exhausted that I was like, when am I gonna do this? And I wasn't sure if I was going to get myself hurt, because I still felt like I wanted. I still felt like we needed to try. I remember that my husband at that time was super scared. He was, and I had a C-section, but he was very scared that he was gonna hurt me. And so luckily, like I think he was more scared than I was. So I was being the one,
Okay.
I was actually being more aggressive than him. And he was like, slow it down, relax, don't, but, we were good at least on communicating in that way of like, I need this, you need that. Like, okay, let's take it easy, but let's get back into it. Another thing that I think that couples need to prioritize is like having a date night and having some
Up.
personal time together,
Exactly.
because everything is about the baby once the baby like gets into the home. And a lot of times we have to just allow people to give us the help if they're offering. And if someone wants to like give you guys some alone time, don't be afraid to take it. Like just take it.
Yes, 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 yes,
Connect
yes.
with one another. It doesn't mean that you have to have sex, but you just need some alone time together as a couple. I also think that it's important to have goals as couples. And so, you
Yes.
know, thinking about or even planning, like, you know, okay, this is the first few weeks, we're just getting used to this, like give us
Mm-hmm.
some time to transition into this new life. And then, you know, let's try to have some alone time when we feel comfortable doing that, you know, getting away from the baby and just having our time together. I think that's one of the key things that people don't realize is so important and needs to be prioritized. Because yeah, you have to prioritize the baby, we know that, but it's totally okay, and you should not feel guilty when you have some time away, because that's really really needed, like time together and time to just recharge your batteries, recharge your relationship. Listen, if you could go for a weekend to a hotel and just sleep, do it. Like,
Well, you are on the money. I tell couples all the time, after you have a baby, you are before you have the baby, actually, I let them know that I want to see a schedule,
mhm, mhm,
meaning a our schedule and a my schedule,
right,
because both parents may need time even for themselves,
mhm,
right? To regroup, to get to figure out who they are again by themselves,
mhm,
and it's definitely important that, you came together to make this baby.
yeah,
So it's important that you come together without the baby too.
mhm,
And that also flows into just parenting, period.
yes,
I make my couples set up a time that you're to schedule sex,
mhm, mhm,
okay?
yeah,
You to schedule date nights.
yeah. You
You
know,
know,
I'm gonna tell you, I used to work with this nurse that I think she was, when I met her, she was already married for like 20 years or 30 years, something like that, when I had already met her. And every Thursday, her and her husband had a, like, she would leave work early and they had, it was like their sex night. And they always
yeah.
made a big deal out of it. And I really thought it was so silly when I was in residency. I was like, oh my
Oh
God, like this
no.
is so
Mm-mm.
ridiculous. And she's like, no, this is what keeps our marriage strong. This is what keeps us
Yes.
like in love. And I,
Hmm.
when I think about it now, I'm like, that was the smartest thing. I should
Yes,
have
yes,
listened to that.
because couples don't, they don't discuss that. Like, my husband, his schedule is very unorthodox.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very demanding. There's times I don't see him. I can't say his profession without his permission. So there's times I don't see him for 2 days, 3 days, depending on his situation at work. And so,
Mhm.
when it's my time with him, godparents are on deck, grandparents are on deck,
Yeah.
friends are on deck.
Yeah.
Even if it's for 2 hours, you don't
Right.
necessarily have to have sex. You can have intimacy, just getting to
Yes.
know them, remembering your partner.
Right.
Your child is going to grow up and they're going to leave you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And listen, parents don't, people, yes, kids are your priority, but without your spouse or partner, they would not be here. Right.
Right. Right.
So that's where people get lost
Mhm.
in parenting and forget their spouse.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
some women who get so obsessed with having their baby that they forgot the man that helped them to make the baby. Okay.
Right. Right.
So it's so important that you provide them with that support because they were there prior to the child.
Mhm.
So it's important that you have maintain that friendship. If you don't have a friendship before the baby, you're not going to
Not
have
gonna
one
have one
after the
after.
baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to
If
build a
you
good
are at
foundation.
if you don't have like you just stated, a foundation where you
Mhm.
communicate it, then it's going to be difficult. If
Mhm.
you should be able to get to the place where you can say to your spouse, listen, I need you to wash, you missed the spot. You need
Right.
to be able to have that. If you don't have that kind of communication with your spouse, then you are in trouble. And I say that because when you have a baby, you have to be able to say, listen, I'm feeling this kind of pain. We can't do this. And so, I'm definitely going to give you guys tips afterwards on how to have sex in different positions for those who do vaginal and C-section, because I think it's important. Sometimes people don't know where to start.
Mm.
And it don't necessarily mean penetration. It's important that if a woman is scared or the man is scared, oral sex or taking lubrication, remember water-based, none of that sticky stuff, and you insert, the fingers, you finger her,
Mm.
if you will, and do start the foreplay. Allow her vagina to remember what it felt like with something going inside instead of coming out.
Right.
So, giving clitoral stimulation. Sometimes for some men, they don't know how to do it. So as women, you have to guide. Same thing with women with men.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't know how to do oral sex. Men, you need to guide your woman. If you like it fast, you like it slow, you want it hard, you have to guide. So it's
Yeah.
important for you to be able to stimulate the mind.
Mhm.
Take her out. She's
Mhm.
exhausted. So,
Mhm.
you taking the kid, you doing the laundry, you cooking a dinner or providing for,
Yeah.
trust me, like
A
right
man is
now,
so sexy when he does all of those things.
listen, I'm at a place now where, my husband the other day, I came home, I was exhausted. And
Mhm.
this man cooked me dinner
Uh-huh.
just for me. They
Uh-huh.
had their own separate dinner.
Right.
Man, I tore him up that night. You understand? That was sexy. That was
Yeah.
sexy for me. And so
Yeah.
sometimes men don't understand that it don't necessarily mean you can sex text,
Mhm.
get the person in the mood. You can
Mhm.
clean the house, have it
Yeah.
done. That
Yep.
becomes sexy when you're tired.
Yes. Yes.
Allowing your partner to rest while you take the baby. She
Yes.
has energy to even look at you.
Right. Yeah. Tell her to
Honey,
go take a nap and you go out
go
and do
right.
something
You go
and
do something with the baby, or
yeah.
you just send the baby to the grandparents. If you're breastfeeding, pump if you can. Okay, if
Mhm.
you're not,
Mhm.
then you send for like an hour or two and just massage her back.
Right.
Massage her feet.
Her feet,
Play in
her
her
back.
hair.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk to her. Find out what's
Mhm.
going on, because
Mhm.
also, being a stay-at-home mom, for those who are stay-at-home moms, that's not easy either. A lot
No.
of women go through depression, but that's a whole nother different topic right there.
Yeah.
But they don't feel like that they're able to do things that they used to. So
Mhm.
it's a transition for both parties. But
Mhm.
it's about being honest. And if you can't communicate with your spouse and you need somebody to assist them with what you're trying to state, because a lot of times people argue, well,
Right.
how long is this going to be,
Right.
or what have you. And, it's important for the woman to communicate, even though the doctor is saying 4 to 6 weeks, you already know that you're not ready.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. So, and then there is a high percentage where I would say about 50% of women want to have sex. They're just
Mhm.
tired, like you just stated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then you have those who have C-section. About, I would say about 40% of women, they experience pain during having sex with C-sections as well, because sometimes people don't acknowledge the ladies who have C-sections. They only talk about vaginal birth,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
those who experience C-sections, they go through their also challenges as well.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, one of the things, if you're going to go out on a date and you're breastfeeding, if that's something that you choose to do, I recommend this bra. It's called a hot milk temptation bra.
Uh-huh.
And that helps. So if you are leaking, you're not leaking and you're having to run out. You're going on a date with your
Uh-huh.
husband
Uh-huh.
or a spouse or what have you, you don't want unwanted leaks. You're trying to be sexy,
Right.
and not embarrassed. So that's
Right.
something on Amazon too, so you can do that.
Uh-huh.
You know how it is. You're trying to fit in, or you don't feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You was a size 2, now you're size 10.
Yeah.
Trying to work off that weight. And
Yeah.
so, men, it's also up to you to make, your partner feel special too. So even if
Mm-hmm.
she says she feels disgusted, she's fat, we as women, we can
We're so
criticize
critical.
ourselves in a
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
that men are just happy just to hug you.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
kiss,
Yeah.
kiss, kiss your spouse. Kiss your
Mhm.
partner. He
Mhm.
comes to, and even if you're tired, grope him. Do something
Yeah.
fun
Yeah. Have
so
fun.
he can feel that you still are attracted to him and that this is not personal. Now, if you're
Right.
going through postpartum depression now,
Mhm.
that's when you need to see a counselor, because
Right.
so and let him know, like, honey, I feel depressed, because sometimes some women don't say nothing because they're scared,
Yeah.
or well, is he gonna think I'm crazy? What's going on? I don't want to say nothing. It's important to communicate so he knows it's not him,
Mhm.
and he can support you, because no
Mhm.
one person can't support you if they don't know what's going on,
What's going on? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
right?
you're
I
right.
can't read your brain. You have to
Mm-mm.
open your mouth, right?
Right.
so
Yeah. It's
so it's
hard. It's hard to
important.
talk sometimes. So like especially me personally, I'm a person who doesn't I'm not forthcoming with the way I feel. So I think a lot of times for me the best way to communicate is actually to write it down. So
I
I
was
can
gonna
like
say that
write
next.
and send you a
Hmm.
letter, but I can't
Yes.
sometimes just say it to your face.
Yeah, you
So
can do
even,
that.
even if you have to do that, but just to get it out, so that that other person understands. A lot of times we want men to understand like what we're thinking or how we're feeling, and they really don't know. They really, really don't know.
They
You really
don't.
have to spell it out for them. Like, this is what it is, man. This is what I'm going
Yes.
through.
And
Because
you
usually once you do that, then they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. I'm so happy you told me.
exactly.
And then everybody's so relieved that it just came out. But you really, 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 I know for me that was like one of the biggest problems that I had in my marriage, because I could not say it. I couldn't talk. I just thought,
Mhm.
like, how come he doesn't know this stuff? He doesn't care about me if he doesn't know this. And that's not the truth. Like,
Yeah.
now, after
No,
so
it's
many years
not.
of being divorced and gone, having dated other men, I'm like, oh my God, you really need to just tell them. As hard as
You
it is
have to.
sometimes,
You have
you
to.
really
You
have to
have
tell them.
to.
You have to even let them know, like, listen, I need X, Y, and Z. I need you to go to the store, go get me some pads, bring it back to me, because right now what's going on down there, like, you really, really have to tell them. And so even when it comes to sex, even though that feels like a little uncomfortable, maybe, you need to be able to say, like, listen, tonight I need you to do this, this, and this. And I think they appreciate when you do that.
Listen, it is true. You have to get. It's hard for women who don't like to talk, as you stated. So you could be creative, like I stated. You can write it. You can put a love note. I love the way you do this when you do it. You know, being straightforward. And getting to the point. Some men don't like to hear the 5 million stories. If you're trying to say you want him to, give you oral sex right now, and that's what's going to please you, then state that. But
Mm-hmm.
rather than saying, I'm feeling a little, just state that, in your
Yeah.
own way, whatever
Yeah.
sexual way, your sexual language. Sometimes some people don't know their sexual language, and that's also important too,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so important to communicate, because you have a lot of women that they're the aggressors, because
Mm-hmm.
the men are like, you know what, I don't want her to feel uncomfortable. I'm not trying
Mm-hmm.
to hear her state that, I facilitated this. I made her do this,
Mm-hmm.
or to avoid any arguments. So,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
woman then is like waiting, like, is he gonna touch me? Is he gonna, all right, let me just do it myself. So
Right.
you'll have
Right.
even women who, a lot of people don't speak about this, but they'll masturbate, you
Mm-hmm.
know, as well, just to get
Mhm.
themselves comfortable as well. So,
Mhm.
so you have to figure out what your sex language is with your spouse or your partner.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
important to know that. And even if you're having a tough pregnancy and you're not having sex and you were super sexually active prior to the baby, but the baby's on your bladder, you have back problems, you have knee problems, stuff like that,
Mhm.
then you can somehow have them to touch you, so you still feel sexual aroused or not. And then if you're having such a bad pregnancy where you don't want your spouse to touch you, then you have to figure out other intimate ways where your spouse or partner does
You
not
can
feel
connect. Yeah.
neglected.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
because and then you have the ladies and gentlemen who are scared to have sex again because they don't want to get pregnant and go
Right.
through this again. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So
Yep.
that's when you have to speak with your GYN about IUDs, birth controls, or condoms,
Yes. Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
open to that because, as some people have traumatic pregnancies, where they don't even want to see a penis. It's like,
Yeah.
you're the reason why I'm feeling this way,
Right.
and
Right.
so,
Right.
and not understanding it's not the man, it's your body,
Right.
sometimes your body just rejects you.
Right.
So it's important that I let people know most times that, because when they think of marriage and family therapy, people always assume the following, that they only speak about putting people together.
Mm. Yeah,
uh
you want to talk
and
way before you even get to that point, right? Yeah, you don't
sometimes,
want to
yeah,
wait
but sometimes
until.
think that
Mhm.
as a marriage and family therapist, we speak about sex, we speak about divorce, we help
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
go through the divorce in a mannerable way. We help people to communicate, whether
Mhm.
that's sexually or just communicating, period.
Right.
And just working some things out through themselves. And most of us, and if not all, we're very familiar with the sexual organs, and be able to guide. And if there's anything that needs to be, because there's some form of dysfunction. Sometimes nerve damage happens down there as well after giving birth, and a lot of women don't know that, and a lot of husbands don't, or partners don't know that as well, that sometimes
Mhm.
there's nerve damages.
Mhm.
So it's important that um, ladies, that you communicate with your GYN what you're experiencing, you
Yeah.
know, letting the man know that you're going to, bleed for some time after having a baby as well. Because sometimes they think like, oh, well, why you bleeding? And sometimes no one talks about these things.
Right.
And the reason why doctors prefer, even though some people do cheat and have baby, have sex before the 6 weeks up, you are also, you're pretty much opening yourself to infections,
Right.
and you don't want to do that as well. So
Right.
it's important to speak with your GYN before you put any anything that will penetrate your vagina.
Mhm.
And also, get lube, if you need to slowly, insert your fingers so she can get the feeling again. That's if
Mhm.
she is, but you have to follow her lead. I tell men all the time, follow her lead, ask her what's going on.
Right.
Don't make her feel guilty, because once you do that, then the sex is not going to be good, and or she just will not have sex with you.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's communication, and that's where the test comes. Are you able to be intimate without penetration? Are you
Mhm.
able to stimulate her mind? Are you able
Right.
to assess her needs without having sex with her?
Right.
Can
Without the
you,
physical. Mhm.
without the physical, can you
Mhm.
mind sex her without touching her? Can
Right.
you make
Right.
her feel touch without touching her,
Right.
physically? And so that's where the intimacy has to come in. And so, where men have to step up their game sometimes and be more creative.
Mhm.
Maybe not a bath right away, but maybe fixing up the room, have a picnic for her,
Yeah,
you
be
know,
supportive in some
and be
way. Mm-hmm.
supportive. You
Mm-hmm.
know, honey, I know that you're tired. You know, pump. You know, if you're breastfeeding, pump enough where you have that liquid gold where he can feed the baby at night.
Right, and you can
That's
get
what
some rest.
you can
Mm-hmm.
get some rest. You know, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we try to be super mom and
Mm-hmm.
we become so super that we're neglectful.
Yeah, of
So,
ourselves. Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And so, I remember that's what I did. I had, when I was breastfeeding, and my babies were pretty good though. I used to check on them, Z, like, wake up, what's wrong with you? You know, because people gave
Oh,
me
you're
this
lucky.
perception. Yeah, people gave me this perception that the baby will be up all the time, and they were
Yeah.
sleeping. I'm like, what's wrong with them? Something's wrong with my babies, but
Right. Right.
nothing was wrong. But if you can, you know, pump and have him, you know, or
Eat so
her,
you could take a
whatever,
nap. Mm-hmm.
have them, you know, feed the baby. You
Yeah,
know,
and you
you're
can take a
not,
nap
you're
during that time.
still, you're still a great mom. You stepping out for 2 hours is not going to kill you. If grandma,
Mm-hmm.
grandpa, or
Mm-hmm.
cousin or auntie
Mm-hmm.
want to take them, take that time to do a walk in the park. Take that time to lock yourself
Have
in
some
a motel, hotel room
self-care.
for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, self-care is essential for mothers and fathers when you're having a
Yes.
newborn.
Yeah.
That is essential. You
Yep.
know, you have to have time for yourself. So if it's
Yep.
20 minutes you take out to take a walk, or, you know, go to the movies for an hour just by yourself, and then you have to make that time with you and your partner. At least, I tell people, at least for 2 hours if you can. If you
Yeah.
can't do it for an hour, just you and them, no distractions. So that means either the baby gotta go or you gotta go.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
the no distractions does not mean that the baby is in the living room with your mom and you're in the bedroom.
Right.
That's that.
Yeah.
No,
You're right.
leave the premises. Get
Yeah.
that time to not get into baby mode. And I also advise couples too, that you have to be able, during that time when it's your time with your woman or your man, or, you know, what have you, no talking about the baby.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. That's
because
important.
what happened is you're already spending 8 or 9 hours or 24 hours with the baby anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can
Mm-hmm.
talk all that time. If you can break away for at least an hour, not speaking, and just speaking about you guys, you know,
Mm-hmm.
oh, honey, you know, just different things. How was work? Or, you know, what would you like to do different within yourself? You know, what can we do to spice up our time? What can we do
Focus
to
on each
spice up our
other.
life? Focus
Yeah.
on each other. You
Yeah.
know, you should always date your partner. It doesn't
Yes.
stop because the rings are there and babies.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well,
And
thank you, Gidget. This was a lot of good advice. I am so happy that we did this together finally.
yes, and let me give these tips for sex before I leave.
Uh-huh. Let's hear. These are the golden tips.
All right. So, as I stated, you know, having that hour time is extremely important. So, schedule intimacy sessions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Keep the communication of parenting outside of that time frame.
Right.
So for those who have C-section, you know, a couple of positions that you can do, and is spooning. So
Mm-hmm.
we know what spooning is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the sex, you know, for the ladies, whether it's your right leg or your left leg, you want to raise your one leg in the air, and your partner will enter into your G spot, and that will help you to not have any form of abdomen or scar pressure,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and your muscles won't be used. So
Right.
having sex spooning is easy.
Uh-huh.
Then there's the spicy spooning. So, and that's where you don't lift up your legs, but your partner enters you from behind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that also helps where there's not a pressure on your abdomen as well.
Okay.
Then for those who are, you know, uh, fun with it, I call it, you know, the reverse cowgirl.
Yeah, yeah.
So that will help you because you want to control how much pressure you have
Mm-hmm.
and you can control as well as the movements.
Yes.
You
And it's
control the
also good if you're
speed.
feeling self-conscious about like your belly, because they can't see
Yes,
your belly. They could just
right.
see the booty. So
Exactly.
so you
And
know
that
how much
also
I like that one.
yeah, listen. And guess what? Men like it too. They like
Yeah, they get a
seeing
good view.
themselves. They like seeing what they're doing to you. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Then I call the next one the X factor.
Uh-huh.
And that's when you lay flat on the bed, or for those who are, a little spicy, the table.
Uh-huh.
Um, and you have your partner stand at the edge with your legs crossed. So your legs is going to be crossed in an X shape, and then that will give your partner deep penetration, but it will be easy on your core and your scar area.
Okay.
Then, so those who also do have vaginal birth, you can do exactly what I'm stating as well for all of these as well. And lastly, I call it the kneeling missionary position.
Mm-hmm.
So now I tell ladies that when you're feeling comfortable, so like I stated earlier, your testing is with the fingers. You'll know, like, okay, I can't deal with any form of pressure to
Mm-hmm.
that point. So you want to do building up. So that's why I'm
Right.
giving you the 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can build up to this last one. So
Okay.
it's the kneeling missionary position. This is when your partner is kneeling, and they're on their ankles,
Uh-huh.
and they'll lift your legs up
Up. Yeah.
and your pelvis and
Mm-hmm.
penetrate you.
Right.
So that allows your abdomen is not being fully like
Right.
pressurized, if you
Right.
will.
Right.
So, you want to have these different kinds of things, because you know what? The fact is that, like you stated earlier, some men are scared. They don't know what to do,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
they don't know, what to do or what have
Yeah.
you.
They
And
don't want to hurt
so
you.
they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hurt you. You don't want to hurt yourself,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And
Mm-hmm.
so, you got to keep in mind that your lower body may be still recovering from childbirth, right?
Right.
And so the perineal tears, it does reduce sex drive as well. So it's
Yeah.
important that you do that. And they have this spray, oh gosh, what's it called? Earth Mama.
Yes, I
And
love
it-
that
and
stuff.
and that's a perennial spray that helps like
Yes. Yes.
postpartum to alleviate swelling
Yes.
and
Yes.
pain. So that
Yes.
helps a lot of
It
women that I've
does.
recommended to.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there are things and it has like different like scents, like
Yes.
lavender,
Yes. The essential oils are in there. Mm-hmm. Yes.
yeah. So you can utilize that as well. So I just hope that you ladies are, and gentlemen, that you don't allow your sex drive and sex life die because you pushed out what you guys created so beautifully.
Yeah. Well, Gidget, let everybody know where they can find you.
Okay, so you guys can find me on Instagram right now, Etsah Solutions. So it's ETSAH Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you can contact me if you would like to do any form of, sex therapy or couples therapy. You can also reach me there. My website should be coming up in a couple of months, so I'll announce on Instagram when it's up.
Very
And,
nice.
we're going to have some things going on. So, this won't be the end of me, Miss Lopez, Dr. Lopez, talking.
Yeah.
So, and I just hope that this help, partners, couples, to understand that this is real. And if we talk about it more and people are informed more about postpartum sex, then it'll be, while they're pregnant, it'll
Mm-hmm.
be a little bit easier so when the baby's here, you won't be so stressed out.
That's right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Gidget. Thank you for
You're
doing this with
welcome.
me. I really appreciate it. And I was so looking forward to doing this because we had this plan for some time and we kept having to put it off, but we finally did it. And I know everyone's going
Yes.
to get some good info. They're going to have a laugh. They're going to understand how important communication is and hopefully have a real spicy sex life after the baby.
Yes, get it. Listen, no problem.
To listen to more podcasts, please visit us at drdavinalopez.com and follow us on Instagram at Dr. Davina Lopez. Thank you for listening. Please keep in mind that all advice given in this podcast is general information. To understand your specific situation, you must consult with your pediatrician.